for joining us on The Skeptic Psychic, where we delve into ancient societies, ghosts, the paranormal, UFOs, all looking at it from the perspective of the true believer and from the skeptic perspective. Joining me, my partner, my co-host, my sibling, Kimber Rodriguez. Myself, I am Richard Gregg. And again, let's look into being the skeptic psychic.
Hello, and thank you once again for coming to see us on the Skeptic Psychic today. With me, as always, the intelligent, highly profitable, really go-getting type of person, my wonderful, interesting, and fascinating sister of mine, Kim Rodriguez.
Hey, how's it going this week?
Oh, pretty well. I would like to drop a hint that we just finished off with a wonderful, possible, interesting project that we just did, and look forward to see the fruitations of that project. I can't reveal anything more.
Yes, that's very will be very interesting to see the fruition of that. And as things develop, if they develop, we will let you all know more about that. So, what else is new with you this week?
Well, work, sleep, and eat, and just the uh, battling the old migraines.
Oh, I hate those. Yes, that's something unfortunately that we also inherited from our mother that we could possibly do without.
Right. Three siblings all suffer from the migraines.
Yes, it's not fun at all.
No.
Um, so we are again here live on Facebook today, as well as Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. We can also be found on Instagram, and we usually have these videos up. Well, not the video, but the audio portion later on through wherever podcasts are be found. A way we can get a shout out if you like is you can review us on either um, Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or Amazon Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. Um, what kind of what kind of reviews do we like?
Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, 5 stars.
Yes,
Cinco étoiles.
we do prefer the 5-star ratings, but we'll take anything you give us. We can learn from the good as well as the bad. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the notification. If you comment on our videos in YouTube, we will read those as well.
If you, we do have, we need, uh, we need to think of a name of our peanut gallery than using that colloquialism for the Howdy Doody show. If anyone in our wonderful world can come up with an idea of what we should call our little fan base, this every day comes in and or every episode that like to chime in and give us their wonderful questions, answers, or comments, please let us know. You can catch that on the Skeptic Psychic fan page as well as the Skeptic Psychic there on Facebook.
Yes, you can come to our Skeptic fan page, as you said, or our group, Skeptic Psychic, on Facebook. Um, and why don't we go ahead and get into today's subject?
Well, it is kind of a interesting subject, and let me just, as a preface here, clearly stating that slavery of any kind, whether it be in the past, present, or even in the future, of any person, whether race, creed, religious affiliation, or anything like that, is wrong. We don't believe in it. We don't share in it. Horrors have been enacted against every ethnicity at one time or another, but the entire race can be considered less than human and thought less of than animals is reprehensible in our eyes as well as our hearts. What we want to cover here is a terrible blemish in our young country's history in the treatment of African Americans, often justified by our Puritan forefathers through biblical scripture.
African Americans were held as slaves from our country's colonial days in 1526 and through the American Revolution. During our history, however, not everyone agreed that slavery was right. Abolitionists were those who wanted to end this practice. And our independence in 1776 and the drafting of our Constitution was a very contentious thing, with the author, half of which still owned slaves, never actually using the word slavery, and once allowing slaveholder states additional electoral votes and representation, allowing them to hold on to their way of life for nearly a century. Slavery was abolished in most northern states by 1805, though there were still holdouts with a few hundred slaves still scattered about as late as the 1840s. And it wasn't until after the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1865 that the practice of slavery came to an end throughout our nation.
Horrible conditions still connected for some, even though they're supposedly freed under the practice of sharecropping and convict leasing. And new laws quickly popped up. One state refused to allow newly freed slaves in, feeling that they had already had more than enough former slaves residing in their borders. For a short time, an act was passed requiring that every African American to have a white person listed as their legal guardian, who would be responsible for misconduct or damage caused. The 13th Amendment still allows for a form of legal slavery today in the case of convicted prisoners who, while no longer forming the chain of gangs of old building railroads and breaking of rocks, are still pulled into picking up trash or dangerous jobs like fighting wildfires. Prisons are now gaining in popularity as a way to keep from them sending menial work to other countries with power cost laborers.
I think that's supposed to be low cost laborers.
Maybe it might be prisoner of war cost laborers. I don't know,
There you go.
but we could hang our heads in shame and discuss modern and historical atrocities for days. But today, being that this tomorrow is actually no, it's Tuesday.
No, it's next Sunday.
Next Sunday is Juneteenth.
Yes.
We want to focus on that time between the late 1700s to the mid 18th century or 19th century, where abolitionists and some of the sympathizers with the cause forged in a variety of clandestine routes and safe houses to keep slaves to freedom, to help slaves freedom.
Dubbed the Underground Railroad, it wasn't a railway at all, but rather a series of stops called stations along an ever changing route that led from the south up north to Canada. Early stages of this network also allowed for routes west and south to Mexico, and there was even a route south to Florida where slaves could escape to the islands in the Caribbeans that were not part of the slave trade. Generally, the network of routes considered part of the railwork were the ones heading north, with an estimate of 100,000 former slaves reaching the northern border. The trip was perilous, as any captured runaway slave could be beaten, whipped, branded, and sold back into slavery. Um, they faced unknown treatment on the road, putting their trust in the hands of strangers, risked their health, and risked their being left behind if they became too weak to travel with the group. As they were often required to travel far on foot, every night, and always with their fear of slave owners hot on their heels. The entire route was about 2,000 miles long and would take about 3 months on foot, traveling up to about 20 miles per night.
Reaching the northern states itself wasn't really even a time to rejoice, as there was a Fugitive Slave Act encouraging citizens to aid in the capture of fugitive slaves as they were being considered stolen property rather than horribly abused human beings. Those who aided these fugitives were called conductors, with the slaves referred to as cargo. These stations, often home or businesses where conductors lived or worked, risked the loss of their businesses, prison, branding with letters of SS, which stood as slave stealers. Conductors themselves range from freed slaves like Harriet Tubman to boat captains like Jonathan Walker to young women like Susan B. Anthony, who also helped with women's liberation. Uh, Her own small Quaker farm was part of that route. Some of these stops are known well today, with others still have long since been forgotten or destroyed. The echoes of the past, however, don't always fade through time. And though places today along the route were past still very much as reality, we're talking about the ghosts.
The haunted stops along the Underground Railroad is the theme of today's show, and it's from here in the safe harbor of wherever you find yourselves to be right now that we set off our shore. If you stop at a home in Equity, Illinois, once called Hickory Hill, then you will likely think all is well, as the land of Lincoln should have been a place of safety. But John Hart Crenshaw was an exception to the rule. Crenshaw owned thousands of acres of land along the Saline River. He owned sawmills, harvested crops, and ran three salt furnaces, which were used to feed the nation's demands for salt, which was used as a preservation back then. Crenshaw held slaves. As he stated, the back-breaking work of salt extraction was something that was not fit for free whites. Not only did he lock slaves in cells in the attic, but he also chained them to walls as if to determine not to let them escape. He would also snatch runaway slaves and add them to his workforce. Runaways believed they had at least reached a free state only to find themselves forced to work for a taskmaster, possibly worse than the conditions they had tried escaping from. Crenshaw owned about 700 slaves before his downfall. In 1842, he was indicted for kidnapping a black woman, which brought his operation under the public eye. A better grouping of salt reserves simultaneously discovered elsewhere simply sealed the deal, and his business operations quickly ended. Rumors of what had happened on the property led to the burning down of one of his sawmills. There was also rumors that Crenshaw lost a leg around this time as he was um,
As he
as he,
was,
sorry,
as he.
sorry, I'm just thinking of a light way to say this. He was beating a woman in the fields, and someone else hacked off his leg with an axe.
So they took the terminology of take my hand, and they misunderstood and thought to take my leg.
No, it was just get off that woman.
Yeah.
Visitors today claim to feel an overwhelming feeling of fear or sadness, while others claim to feel cold chills and light touches. Cries, moans, and ungodly sounds and rattlings of chains were prevalent, especially in the attic. The property has changed hands in 1996, however, and is no longer open to visitors. But still, we doubt that that would cause the voices to still.
Now we could always go over to George W. Adams. He was born in the wonderful state of Virginia back in 1799 on a large plantation. But when his grandfather died, George's father freed the family slaves and sold the plantation. The family moved to Ohio in 1808, and 20 years later, George and his brother helped build a large flour mill there. They had such a success that they had the second building was soon added. George's wealth not only went into the developing of the town of Dresden, bridges, canals, and but as a large employer in the region. He put his wealth to work for him. He commissioned himself a mansion that he would eventually call Prospect Place. Not only that, He did offer a safe house for runaway slaves, providing food, rest, and medical assistance, but also struggled states out of the South on flatboards while doing the business in the South. So not only was he, helping them escape across land, he also looks like he was actually helping them escape across water as well, being that he uh, uh, because it also says that he's struggling states. I'm sure it's saying that should be slaves, on flatboats while doing business in the South. Stories do tell of a bounty hunter who came to the house in 1860 who angrily demanded the return of any and all slaves being harbored on the land. George's ranch hands rallied and the bounty hunter was forced to leave. Unbeknownst to the bounty hunter, the ranch hands followed him back to his camp and snatched him. Hauling him back to Prospect Place, they hung him from the rafters of the barn for his crimes against humanity. Today, they say that an angry spirit lashes out at visitors when provoked. Slavery itself was abolished within George's lifetime, and his estate was left to his children, who squandered it. It seems recently, however, that the great, two greats, not more than that, grandson has since purchased the property. Not only are there ghost presence, but it is said that them are hindering his efforts to restore the property. And phantom footsteps, whispering voices, and dark shadows still echo within the home walls. The basement, where the I don't want to. Okay, the basement where the escapees would stay during the daytime hours before moving on to the night, has given off plenty of cold chills and anguished cries have said to be heard. Reported sightings of a black woman with a head injury has been frequently been reported. Of course, the ghostly stories are here not just about the property time part of the railroad. There's also a young serving girl who passed away from a fall one winter. As the grounds were too frozen for burial, she was kept on ice in the basement of the house until spring, when her mother was coming each day to visit the body. That young girl is often spotted in the hallways and around one of the fireplaces in the servants' quarters, and sobs of grieving mother are heard rising from the basement. Or perhaps the cries and cold spots are from the passengers on the late 1800 train that crashed into another hot summer day uh, when the train exploded the boiler. As there were no hospitals nearby, the injured, including many badly burned, were taken from the Prospect Place, and the cool basement was used as a temporary shelter for the burned victims, many of who died uh, from the injuries before they could be actually transported elsewhere. And yes, I love wearing my shirt, Alan, of the Buckaroo jet car shirt. It actually says, if I can stand up, it actually says the Hong Kong Cavaliers as well. Now, also, the ghost of a gentleman in apparent clothes had been reported near the upper floor staircase, sporting a full mustache, as George himself was known to keep a very full beard. It is thought the gentleman could be one of his descendants, or perhaps of William Cox, who surprisingly abandoned his family under mysterious circumstances. We'll never know. But perhaps if someone like you have opened up such things, you can find the answers of just who is all living still within those walls. Yes, yes. You may want to do that, Kim, and everything you
Oh,
do.
I'm sorry. I was I was muted. I
Yes.
apologize for that.
Yes. Again, I do want to state, if you did hear to Alan, it does say the Buckrew Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers. So,
Yes,
Chris,
and no, no affiliation, no sponsorship.
no, but I would like to have the Bansu Institute actually give a little endorsement. Yeah, Dr. Banzai, we would like to be part of a fellowship with you.
Indianapolis is home to the Hannah House. While the mansion is now a bed and breakfast and a wedding venue, it also holds paranormal investigations, tours, and events. The home was built in 1858 by Alexander Hannah, who had his hand in a wide range of activities as a local sheriff, postmaster, circuit court clerk, and a member of the Indiana General Assembly, all of which allowed him to cover as a conductor on the railroad. For years, the hundreds of wooded acres surrounding the property and small area population allowed fleeing escapees a brief harbor far from detection. One group, however, didn't fare as well. A group waiting in the basement for the cover of darkness to start the next leg of their journey had lanterns lit to see it. Someone tripped over a lamp and spilled the oil, setting the small room ablaze. Unable to flee the flames and smoke quick enough, a number of occupants died of smoke inhalation and burns. The deceased people were temporarily buried in the dirt of the cellar floor to cover up the incident until it was safe to rebury them out on the property. Dying without having children, the Hannah home was empty for decades before being sold and eventually restored. Since its purchase in the mid 1960s, the owners have reported cold spots, foul smells, flying spoons, door and wall hangings moved, disembodied voices, and crying from the basement.
Yes, and then we can move over to the wonderful world of Napoleon, Indiana, where two friends, William Love and William Howell, purchased an old tavern and renamed it Railroad House Inn. A slide dig at slaves seeking in the area. Modifications to the building included spaces behind the walls and a hidden room and a tunnel on the southern wall of the building that was only accessible by a trapdoor. The business these days is a restaurant called Bonaparte's Retreat, but the tunnel and the room are still there. The owner spent the time in the double dug basement and felt ice cold breezes, heard voices, odd noises. There's a frequent apparition of a black man they say is named Charlie, who is spotted wearing big overalls. Charlie stays in the basement and does not visit other parts of the building. It is thought that Charlie is the man who helped slaves through the tunnel to a livery station, which is basically, for those of you who don't know what a livery is, it's basically where you bought and sold horses, where they be lifted up and smuggled into wagons with fake bottoms. Charlie never moved on, as he was always waiting to help other slaves who would always come. There's no way of knowing if his voice is amongst those recorded on the EVP, as the restaurant claims to have captured voices of men, women, and children. It is also said if you stand by the tunnel entrance and you feel a rush of cold air pass by, it's then the meters and that the meter of lights will light up. While there are other ghosts in the building, those of the Underground Railroad seem to be the only one that haunts the basement areas.
The Woodburn Governor's Mansion in Dover, Delaware was once a station along the railroad. Built in 1798 by Charles Hilliard III, it has been home to senators, politicians, wealthy farms, and doctors, and nearly every one of them has admitted to hearing or seeing some of the home's many ghosts. While it was a station, the home was owned by Dan Cowgill, a Quaker and abolitionist. He had a tunnel dug that led from the basement down to nearby St. Joe's River in order to allow the railroad human cargo, sorry, in order to allow the railroad human cargo a secret access to the home. The ghost of one of the sites, known to be tied to the railroad, is that of a slave raider who arrived with a group of others. Mr. Calgo went to chase them off, and one tried climbing the large poplar tree in the front yard. He managed to climb it unnoticed, but slipped and became hung up in the crook of the tree, his head jammed tightly and his body unable to gain purchase up to free himself. He died in the tree, and his soul is never left. It is said you can hear his screams and the shackles he was holding if you wait by the tree, which still stands today, stuck in an eternal hell of its own making.
Yes, that is kind of on a lighter note. I wish we did have the contact information from Mrs. Johnson, so that way we can get some of those world famous sticky buns to be delivered whenever Mrs. Johnson feels like delivering her sticky buns, and that'd be a great promotional idea for the Skeptic Psychic and the Bonsai Institute. Thank you, Alan.
Yes, for those of you who don't know what they're talking about, it is a reference to the movie Buckaroo Banzai.
We want everybody to just guess. If they don't get it, they don't get it.
Not all of us have seen the movie, bro.
Hey, it's you have to see the movie to understand the movie.
Exactly, and some of us haven't seen it.
All right. The McPike Mansion in Alton, Illinois, is believed to be a stop along the railroad. Many ghosts roam the grounds, but the basin is where the majority of the activity focuses. The mansion, built in 1869, has gone through a variety of owners, but originally was owned by Henry and Eleanor McPike. When the home has not been lived in since 1950s due to its crumbling condition, but visits to the basements are still allowed when balls of light are frequently flying in and out of the home's basement. Glowing and shadowy human-shaped figures have also been seen peering out from the basement windows, but only on film. Interesting to note, the mansion itself was built in 1869, but yet they were getting a lot of the lights and that sort of thing. And it is kind of the area itself is actually considered in Illinois as being one of the stops. So whatever house that was there before the McPike Mansion may have been an interesting, uh, a itself, whatever house was there before.
Right. Um, Last week we did cover Gettysburg, but we do need to go ahead and bring up the Dobbins House Tavern, which is in Gettysburg. Also, I want to point out, last week you said Gettysburg was in Virginia. It's actually in Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to go ahead
Sorry.
and I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. That correction. We apologize that we misquoted the state for that. Um,
I'm slapping my hand. Shame on me.
Yes. The Dobbins Tavern was built in 1776 by the Reverend Alexander Dobbins and was a home to the oldest and most historic of buildings still standing in Gettysburg. The occupants are able to sit on their balcony to watch Lincoln deliver. I'm sorry, they were able to sit on their balcony to watch Lincoln deliver the Gettysburg Address on a bluff just a couple hundred yards away. The home originally consisted of 300 acres of land, as the Irish reverend ran a classical school and farm on the lands in what would be considered a combination of spiritual seminary and liberal arts college, and was highly respected. Okay, we did just get a message, I'm assuming, from our historian, our researcher. So some of us have been forced to watch the movie. Consider yourself lucky you don't have it taking up precious space in your brain. It is an odd boy, nerd boy paradise. And yes, she loves you, Richard, even with your strange taste in movies.
Time? We have nothing but time.
Yes, sorry for that tangent. Blame the ADD. Um, But back to the Dobbs. In the mid 1800s, a secret crawl space was incorporated into the home to provide a safe room in what would be possibly the first stop on the railroad, north of the infamous Mason Dixon line. It is unknown how many former slaves may have traveled through the Dobbin house, but in the home, but the home was roped in to serve as a field hospital during the Civil War. Also, it became a gift center catering to tourists, and then its modern incarnation as a tavern and restaurant. Modern day lore states you just may wind up with a side of paranormal along with your meal. Spirits of former slaves have been walking not only in former hiding spots, but within the tavern itself. Blood splatters, presumably from the war, have also been known to appear and disappear on the floor throughout the building.
Hmm. Now, and also you look at the fact of the the Dobbins House Taverns. Let's look over here at another B&B in the College Hill neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio, called the 6 Acre Bread and Breakfast. Has a history of haunting itself. The owner, an African American herself, was drawn to the property and was able to eventually purchase the land and restore it, running it now with her sister. Together, they point out ghosts and share stories of the property, but in the way that shows respect and care of the dead who share their space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
The site was originally built in 1850s by a Cincinnati Quaker and farmer Zebulon Strong. That's an interesting name, Zebulon.
Sounds like
Strong,
something maybe from Buckaroo Banzai.
maybe, I don't know. Curse you! Strong used a false bottom wagon to assist people in reaching the house, but was falling apart by the time the current owners took possession. According to the owners, they have several sightings, including the ghost of a black woman seen in Quaker garb, who may have once been hired as a servant. There is a former slave who told one of the property's guests that her name was Grace. There's a boy who traveled via the railroad who died on the property. Within the African healing circle that is still carved in the floorboard of the attic room. That is interesting, the
Yeah.
fact that there is not only documentation, but also a, how you say, a actual, I'd say artifact, that the fact that they did put a circle of protection, on the property itself.
And that it still stands today. That would be, I would love to see that. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
The property itself does not allow ghost tours, sorry to say. Out of concern for those who remain, visitors are not allowed in the upper chamber where they believe former slaves were hidden or the room within the healing circle. Sorry about that, Kim. You'll not be able to see
Oh,
that. The fact that these women would much rather protect their residents rather than commercialize them, thank you very much, ladies. It is a tender reminder that while these stories may have been entertained some and educated others, we must always remember that these souls who remain here are in fact remnants of a people who once lived, breathed, and suffered, loved, lost, and reclaimed what some type of uh, the freedom that that it was God given unto all people.
yes. And we do ask if you do visit any of the sites that we covered today and in visiting any ghostly sites in your travels, please be respectful of those not only who currently own the property, but also those who still linger on its grounds. Don't go out there and start provoking these spirits. Don't go trespassing and
A lot of these buildings themselves are run down and are considered condemned. It may, you know, you may be one of those spirits that while you're out going for EVPs, you may be the one you're just down the road be the EVP.
Yes,
So
definitely get permission before you travel anywhere, and just be respectful. Be respectful of the owners of the home. Don't be littering, tearing things up, and be respectful of the spirits that are there.
not only be respectful of the spirits, but also be respectful of yourself. I There are spirits out there that may or may not want to harm or take you go with you. So protection from yourself, protection from uh, the others. Uh, just be considerate of not only yourself, your friends, your family, the owners of the place, and I stress the fact again: respect for these spirits that are still stuck there, whether they be corporeal, mentally there, physically there. Uh, just give them all the respect that you would give them today.
And also, again, I want to point out that we do not condone the practices of our ancestors. The reason we wanted to talk about the Underground Railroad today is because we have a lot of respect for those who risked their lives and their livelihood in order to do what was right to protect these people and help them to live better lives, to get to somewhere where they would be respected and loved. Um, that's the reason that we wanted to cover this today. We in no way want to make mockery out of slavery or what happened. It is, as we've said at the beginning, we are abhorred that this ever happened. Um, so this is just to, shed a light on those who did try to do their best to do the right thing and help these people to a better life. Any other thoughts on that, Richard?
Oh well, just the fact that it is part of history, and we should learn. As a wise man once said, those who do not learn from histories are doomed to repeat it. And speaking of railroads, what do we got for our next week's topic?
Well, next week, in honor of Father's Day and our dear father, grandfather, who both worked for the Southern
And
Pacific
great
Railroad,
grandfather, mind you, I
yes,
like to.
and great grandfather, who worked for the Southern Pacific Railroad, we are going to travel from one railroad to an entirely different one. And we're going to look at ghost stories from the railways. Um, so that'll be interesting. We'll also, say a little tribute to our father on that day, being
Yes.
Father's Day.
Yes.
And
Where did Dinah get her horn?
that would be a good question.
Yes.
Maybe we can look into that.
I mean, somebody's always in the kitchen. Maybe they gave her the horn because if someone's in the kitchen, I know. If
Yes.
someone's in the kitchen with Dinah playing on her horn.
No, I always heard playing on the old banjo.
Oh, on the old banjo.
Yeah, you're thinking of working on the railroad till Gabriel blows his horn.
I always heard Dinah want you blow, Dinah want you blow, Dinah want you blow your horn. Where did she get her horn?
I don't know.
Uh,
Only thing I know of, like I said, is when Gabriel blew his horn, and Gabriel being the angels, and
right.
I'm assuming that's supposed to be the angels of death,
I mean,
supposedly.
yeah. You've been working on the railroad all the live long day. Been
Yes.
working on the railroad since all these wonderful days. I mean, can't you hear those whistles blowing? Oh, it's such early in the morning. Can't you hear that whistle blowing? Again, where did Dinah get her horn? Fee
Okay.
fi fiddly I o. Fee
I
fi
don't
fiddly I
know.
a.
Maybe that's something we'll discuss next week when we talk about the haunted railways. Um, Anything else you want to add this week?
Just again, you can always reach us at the Skeptic Sidekick Facebook page. I suggest this, but it's tongue in cheek about dirty stuff. I don't know if I want to act. I don't think it's a cheeky song because it does kind of fit in with the Underground Railroad, where they've actually have said that it may have been one of those songs that signaled the underground situation. Like
Mhm.
there were such spiritual songs as "Follow the Drinking Gourd." They even say that nobody knows the trouble I've seen have
Yes,
actually been the little song and whispers that follow this route, that sort of thing.
right. There were a lot of songs of the time that they would sing that had hidden messages in them for the railroad.
Right.
So yeah,
I'm only making fun of that song because that's something my dad and grandfather would always occasionally joke about, the fact that that song is
yes,
so
they would sing that song quite a bit. Um, but yes, if you want to find us, you can email us at info@skepticpsychic. Visit our website, skepticpsychic.com. Um, Again, we ask that you, if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe and hit the notifications.
you can comment on it as well if you really wanted to.
Yes. And also, if you're watching us on Twitch, make sure you follow us on there as well. And if you want to discuss more about hauntings or anything of the paranormal, you can join us in our Facebook group, The Skeptic Psychic. Um, we are a small group, but we are a proud group and we're growing
Right.
every day. So we invite you to join us there. We only ask that you respect everybody and, you know, even if you don't agree with somebody, please be respectful.
Right.
Um,
And we'd also like to. I just lost my train of thought. It went by me like a
meow!
crazy train.
Speaking of trains,
Yes. Uh,
okay, we were
oh,
talking about the psychic group, skeptic psychic
right.
group, and where they
Uh,
can find us.
like I said, subscribe, and make a comment on our YouTube page. We'll even take your nasty comments. Still no pickles bubbles. We will not repeat exactly what you said up on there. I'm sorry to say that's over in Twitch.
Yes, this is a PG-13 show, so. But thank you for commenting.
And again, I want to stress the fact I would like for our fans to suggest something better than the peanut gallery for our little friendly group that visits us every Sunday to actually hear our comments
And our
as we
show
read them off.
live, yes.
Yes, and I can't actually call you guys Blue Blazers or the Fabulous Five or the Institute people. Please, suggestions, likes, dislikes. Let's have a vote on it. If you guys have any ideas of what we should call our small collection of people that come and visit us every Sunday to hear it. Uh,
Yes. We need something original, something that hasn't been taken, and something that represents how much we love you
something
guys for
clean.
showing up. Yes, something clean. And something that represents how much we love you guys for showing up each week.
So,
And um, with that, anything else you'd like to add?
uh, stay tuned for Skeptic Psychic Haunts, possibly.
There you go.
Uh, Stay tuned for the month of July, where we'll be discussing everything and all things UFO.
Yes.
We've got a really big planned month for the month of July because we are celebrating the 75th anniversary this year of the Roswell case. So we hope that you stick around for that month of July to actually hear these wonderful UFO stories.
Yes.
Could we talk about Corona? Maybe. Could we talk about the Men in Black? Possibly. All these questions and answers that you may want to know. Check us out in July for our UFO month.
Yes. And with that, we say
unpleasant nightmares, and we love you.
Sweet dreams, everybody. See you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.